Good afternoon, or I should say good day, and welcome to the International Great Black Read Aloud Day 2026. We are excited to be here with you today, and today is day 20 science fiction, and we are excited about our selection today. It's part of a series, and we're going to be reading from book two. And we want to welcome you and we want to invite you to follow us online. You can follow us online on our platforms at Black Read Aloud. And we want you to um, enjoy reading. And so we are here at the International Great Black Read Aloud Day. We are giving voice to words written by Black people around the world. And we have a mission to encourage the exploration, the purchase, and reading of books written by Black people. And that is what we do every year. We've been doing it for 6 years. This is our sixth year. And we are delighted to keep bringing you varied books, introducing authors, presenting authors to you in the course of our readings throughout the year. And this year, we hope to stick to what our original plan was in 2021. And so we'll be reading more than just in the month of February. Um, so today, our genre is science fiction. And our selection for today is A Dance with the Gods, A Dance for the Gods. And we're going to put up our cover, and here's our cover: A Dance for the Gods by Odiase and K.M. Pumpuni. And E.O. is from the UK. And so these are UK authors, and so we are excited about our selection for today. And let's go back and make sure we got what we need. And there we are again. All right. And so today our selection is A Dance for the Gods, The Last Warrior book two. So at this point in the series, the king has been killed at the hand of his queen. And so she has a plan in place. And so we're going to look at the plan. And this one is, we're reading from chapter 2, Bathe in Blood. And at this point, the young king, the about to be king, her son, her last son, is about to be crowned as king. And so there is a huge coronation service going on after everything has gone down. And so we're going to pick it up after the king has been killed. All right. Some weeks had passed since Ruari met his end in the rain and at the sharp end of Kalao's blade. By now, the headless warrior king had been laid to rest within the palace grounds. A new dawn was upon Mombaka. It was the day Kendi was to be coronated as the new king of the ancient kingdom. The Kumana Palace Hall was packed full of people from far and wide. Kings and queens, nobles and commoners, and servants and peasants were present. Everyone wanted to witness the momentous event, cramming in, pushing and shoving one another to get a better view of the festivities. Each male royal and high chief in attendance had a crimson silk robe wrapped around their waists, dropping to flutter to the mud floor below. Most adorned their necks with red coral beads or ivory beads. Their wives, daughters, and mistresses in attendance wrapped themselves in some of the most delicately woven Mombacan laces, each one dappled with ornate designs and peacock feathers and tied above their breasts, falling to feather the ground. The noble women had coral beads intricately sewn into their hair in the form of a velvet crown known in the local language as okuku. Like the men, each noble woman and girl glamored their necks and wrists with the finest coral beads. The mother of the soon to be king, Meha, donned a radiant yellow lace wrapped just below her shoulder, flowing to feather her ankles. As always, a collection of the most beautiful coral beads from the sea adorned her now aging beauty. And like the other women, velvet beads were tightly woven into her hair, layered in the shape of a crown. The new queen mother was keen to stand out from the others. She felt it was her day to shine. It may have been her son's coronation, but in her mind, it was hers. It was the day she was to collect the dues owed to her, the reward for scheming and conniving behind her. I'm sorry. It was the day she was to collect the dues owed to her, the reward for scheming and conniving behind her husband's back, and ultimately sending the warrior king to an early grave. Long she had planned for this day, dreamed about it, thought about which extravagant attire she was to wear, how her young son will sit on the throne, and how the crown will sit on his tiny head. Now, the day was upon Mia. She was seated in the front row, staring up at the empty throne, patiently waiting for the ceremony to begin. Kofi took his place on the wooden bench to her left, clad in crimson silk garment and coral beads like the other high chiefs around him. To her right, King Jabbar and Kaleo were seated, both clad in the local attire. After their victorious war, they decided to stay long enough to witness the crowning of the boy king. The king of Kinjaja Kingdom, Hansa, was adjusting his golden crown as they all stood up to acknowledge the entrance of the soon to be king. The 5,000 fighters Kofi was meant to bring Uwari were outside the palace hall, some saddled on horses and others on camels, each one with a blue or green veil over their head, all draped with a kaftan from the neck down. Their horses and camels stood on dead ground, which not so long ago brimmed with green grass and the odd spice. But now, nothing remained but mud, ash, and bits of charred bones. The desolation and muck which filled the palace ground didn't seem to deter the countless men and women who were dancing outside in vibrant green, yellow, orange, indigo, and red colors, the traditional colors of the Mumbakan kingdom. Some of the young men were beating drums, some blowing trumpets and flutes, while the young girls and women sang aged old songs in the local tongue. The ones who couldn't dance or sing jumped around from place to place, yelling prayers to the gods, adding to the joyous atmosphere. Several masquerades were dancing and somersaulting in heavy wooden masks, enameled in black and white stripes, mirroring the zebras that patrolled the land. Each of the ritual dancers was clad in heavy fur coat, decorated in blue, orange, yellow, red, and golden depictions of various sea creatures. Silver bells jingled in their dusty green braids, which were twisted from 1,000 dried green fibers. The local people believed the masquerades embodied the spirits of various sea creatures, and thereby that of the mother deity of the sea, Olukun. They believed the dance brought the spirit of the gods into their divine party, their ritual, the coronation of the new king. It was clear that the local people had long awaited the dawn of a new age, a new reign. They were relieved to see the back of the foreign king. The young prince, Kendi, was brought down the center of the Kumana palace by two hall servants, each one clasping one of his hands while tossing a bronze sword into the air with their other hand. As they marched down the hall, they sang prayers to Olokun in the local tongue, begging her to bless the soon to be king, asking her to protect him, inviting her to lead his steps, and demanding that she grants him the wisdom of a man 10 times his age. His mother, Miha, planned to answer those prayers. She was to be his God, his mother, his protector, his advisor, and his everything. The conniving woman planned to lead his every action, help him with every decision, and rule the kingdom through his seemingly weak hands. He was to be her beloved puppet in the game of dominion and power, orchestrating the strings to her will. Once they climbed upon the altar where the empty throne stood, the servants stopped singing and bowed. The young boy stood, all but naked, with only a white piece of cloth wrapped tightly around his prick. Mia's eyes remained fixed to her young son, her last child. She itched to join him, to comfort him just like she had done his entire life. But for the boy to be seen as the true king, he needed to endure the coronation ritual on his own without her to comfort him. So she watched from the front row, her nerves tense. Not long after, a barrel full of blood came along, inching towards the boar king, brought by 5 servants. Behind them, a haggard old woman waddled along, singing in the local tongue and clanging a silver gong. The gaunt woman was half naked from the waist up, leaving her dangling breasts to swing with each dancing step. Her face, chest, and breasts were coated in white chalk, sacred patterns and ritual symbols of the mother deity Olokun. The servants placed the heavy barrel of blood to the altar floor, sending a heavy thud echoing through the mud walls and spilling some of the thick red fluid on the hard dirt floor. Kendi took a peek, leaning over the deep tub, wondering how many lives had been taken to drain such amount of blood. What is that? Whose blood is that? The worried boy asked with a rasping voice. The haggard old priest placed an arm about his shoulder and said, Don't worry. It isn't that of someone you know, or a human being for that matter. Her voice was a fluttering squeak. So, what is it then? The soon to be boy king questioned again, peering up to meet her with curious eyes. It was drained from an enormous buffalo, the haggard woman replied. When the ritual begins, I shall ask Olokun to turn it into the blood of a lion. If you are to be a great king, the blood of a lion must become part of you. It must flow through your veins. In the past, it was a tradition to carry out coronation rituals with the blood of a dead lion or two. But over the years, the population of the great forest beast had dwindled to a few thousand. Uwari's father, King Modesa, was obsessed with protecting the Akban forest and all the beautiful creatures housed within his wooden walls. So when the time came for him to ascend the throne, he altered the ritual custom by instructing the high priest to make do with the life fluid of an animal that wasn't endangered in order to save the pride. And when it was Ruari's turn to be coronated, he too followed in his father's footsteps. Do you want me to drink it? The hesitant boy asked. Barely 9 now, he had never witnessed a coronation in his lifetime. The coronation was entirely new and the coronation was entirely new and foreign to him. The haggard old woman drew a smirk filled with sneer. No, you shall be bathed in it. After which the spirit of your ancestors, the spirits of kings past, shall live through you. She took his hand and led him into the well of blood. First, the young boy placed one foot into the barrel, drawing a chill from the cold surface, but it slowly disappeared once his foot sank to the bottom. He felt a certain tingle around his ankle, as though worms were crawling up his leg. After a few seconds of acclimating his first foot, he dipped the second one into the container before lowering himself into the well, nudged down by the thrust of the woman's gentle hand on his bushy hair. The haggard old woman then proclaimed to the crowd, The gods shall live through our new king. Veins shot up her neck as she tried to best strengthen a feeble voice. Olokun shall live through our new king. Our ancestors shall embody our new king. She waited a moment to catch her breath and steady an old heart. Then she continued, Olokun, turn this blood into that of a lion, and make it seep through his flesh and flow through his veins from this day until he meets his grave. The boy king shook violently as blood gradually filled his lungs. Mea twitched more, seeing her only son nearly unconscious. The wrinkled old woman jerked forward, throwing some strands of dead gray hair to the red mud floor as she yelled, He shall become a great king, a brave king, a true warrior king. No sooner she said those words, the boy stopped moving and dropped to the bottom of the barrel. The queen mother pulled up her attire and ran down the steps to the throne. With the help of the servants, she snatched the young boy from deep within the barrel and placed him on the floor beneath the throne, flat and facing the thatched roof. If my son doesn't wake up, I will have you beaten and thrown to the lions to feast upon. Worried, Maya threatened the old priest. The gaunt old woman chuckled loudly before stopping for a brief moment to stare at Mia. Before long, she continued laughing hysterically. The crowd was silent with unease, watching and waiting with bated breath to see if the king will wake up. I don't care what you do to me, the half naked priest stated. You can throw me in a cage, feed me to your beasts, or allow me to be raped by countless men. Raped by countless men? You don't tickle the fancy of any man with a useful cock. That thought ran through Mia's mind. If he doesn't survive, that means the gods don't deem him worthy of being king, the haggard woman concluded. The hall was now in disarray. Murmuring and chattering took hold as people whispered wild ideas of what was happening. You must be crazy. Which? He is the rightful heir to the throne, Mia snapped. He is the last surviving son of Uwawe. Kamunde and my youngest daughter Hasina perished in the Agbon forest, trying to escape those moon-eyed beasts. Whispering and murmuring grew as the people questioned Kendi's claim to the throne. Perhaps Mia lied, some muttered beneath their breaths. Some wondered if Kamunde was alive, having been led to believe he was dead. Worried faces replaced the once joyful ones present when the ceremony began. Take her away, Mia yelled as tears filled her eyes. Kofi dashed up the steps to join the woman he loved. Take her to the cages, wicked priest, Mia yelled Meha yelled, as she clucked, I'm sorry, take her to the cages, wicked priest, Meha yelled as she clutched onto her still son as more tears rolled down her soft brown cheeks. Her once bright yellow garment, which glimmered in the flaming lights, was now smeared with blood. Olakun, please bring him back, Miha prayed. He doesn't have to be king. Just bring him back to this world. Bring him back to me. He is an innocent boy. Never has he wronged anyone, she cried to the gods. The guards grabbed hold of the half-naked priest and led her down the corridor. The vicious crowd threw all sorts of objects at the old woman, half-bitten apples, whole pears, half-drunk wine, and some spat at the woman. All the while chanting, witch, old witch, die you witch, the lions will eat you witch. Before the guards and the so-called witch reached the heavy wooden doors of the palace hall, the boy king woke up, coughing droplets of blood onto his mother's well-oiled shoulders. Let me repeat that. Before the guards and the so-called witch reached the heavy wooden doors of the palace hall, the boy king woke up, coughing droplets of blood onto his mother's well-oiled shoulder. His eyes gradually opened as he gasped for warm air, panting and wheezing, clutching at his mother. Wait, 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 King Mea shouted. The crammed hall overcame with silence. The half-naked priest and the two guards stopped and watched to see if the boy king had truly woken. Kendi released himself from his mother's clutches, rubbing off half-dried and sticky blood from his face as he stood to his tiny feet. The once white cloth wrapped around his manhood had turned deep clary red, as blood continued dripping from his naked skin. He took the bold steps and sat proudly on the empty throne, his father's former throne. His once faltering eyes were now still with temerity. The haggard old woman wriggled free of the guard's iron fists and ran for the throne, giggling and smiling, stretching his wrinkled face. Once within reach of the boy king, she took his father's crown and placed it proudly on his young head. The crowd seemed awkward on Kendi, the crown seemed awkward on Kendi, falling to the left and then to the right, never sitting true on his tiny head. After a short while, she managed to balance the newly polished crown, cast of the finest bronze. The old woman dropped to her knees, bowed, and proclaimed, The gods have crowned him our new warrior king. Kings, queens, princes, princesses, servants, and peasants crammed within the hall, and those outside bowed in recognition of the new boy king. Leaning forward, Kendi spoke solemnly. I thank you all for coming to my coronation. I thank those who have traveled from afar to witness this momentous occasion. He addressed his people like a grown man. Please rise and raise your heads. His mother, Miha, hardly bowed her head. Her eyes remained fixed to the young king. The woman couldn't help but notice a certain queer difference in the way he spoke, the way he stood, her son's whole demeanor. The boy suddenly grew confident, assured with his words. He looked well placed on the throne, like it belonged to him all along. Meha almost felt as if a whole new person woke up on her shoulder after being bathed in the sacred blood. The conniving woman was keen to keep her worries hidden. After all, Kendi was king was what she desired. Sorry. After all, Kendi as king was what she desired all along. Now her dream came to pass, albeit through the sacrifice of her husband. And this is our selection for Science Fiction Day, Day 21, A Dance for the Gods, The Last Warrior King book number 2 by Odiase and K. Pumpuni from the UK. And I'm going to make a little correction here, so give me a second here. We want to get it right. We want to get it right. And here, there we go. And now here we are. It is A Dance for the Gods, The Last Warrior King, Book 2 by E.O. Odiase and K.N. Pumpuni. And you have to forgive my pronunciation of names and words in the book. That is the thing about fantasy. Some words are made up, and you get them the best you can, right? So we hope you have enjoyed today's selection for science fiction. It is again, and we're going to put up our cover. It is A Dance for the Gods by E.O. Odiase and K.M. Pumpuni from the United Kingdom. We're so glad that you have joined us once again for reading here at the International Great Black Read Aloud Day 2026. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow for day 22, which is Purpose and Passion. And we have a special for you tomorrow as well. So we'll see you tomorrow on day 22, Purpose and Passion. Bye-bye.